Thank you, Linda, first of all, for giving me this opportunity. I'm very, very honored to be here with you with, such wonderful ladies and gentlemen. And I feel really at home. And I would like to thank you for your warm welcome here. Let me start by asking you a question. How many of you have websites, blogs, and have their profiles on social medias? Perfect. I love this group. And how many of you have already started building their personal brand online and offline? Great. When I asked this question in Italy, actually I asked a different question. How many of you have ever heard of the concept personal branding? And the people start staring at me, wondering which planet I come from. But when I speak about personal branding with my coaching clients, especially professionals and other coaches, they start showing all kinds of resistance. Oh, don't tell me I have to learn something else to do. Don't tell me I have something else to do. I don't have time. I don't want to learn anything new. I'm not interested. And in case of writers and coaches, here on the slide you can see there are a number of other resistances. I don't feel I am I think I've gone too far. They start showing another kind of resistance. They think that they are not a product. They don't want to market. They think that their book, product, service speak for themselves. So when I speak about personal branding, I tell my customers that I have a completely different approach, an approach that takes into account the person to begin with, and it's about you, it is about your story, it is about your experiences, and it's about connecting to people. Very briefly, I want to tell you about myself. I haven't always been a coach or a consultant. I used to be a conference interpreter. I've been for 25 years, and I have been fortunate enough to have work assignments without having the need to market myself. Other happy customers referred me to other customers. Colleagues involved me in their conference assignments. I worked with the UN, the European Commission, many government agencies, film actors. George Clooney was one of them, yes. But I have never had the need to market myself. Then a major life storm, as I call it, arrived in my life, and it forced me to reinvent myself and my career. I've always loved technology, the internet, so I got on the internet, I got fascinated with social media marketing. I started to coach people to create, their marketing strategy on social media. And it was then that I realized that I was just one of millions of other people doing the same thing. So I had to differentiate myself somehow. And this was when I first met the concept of personal branding. But my approach to personal branding is a little bit different from others. And I will show you, first of all, why you cannot, as writers, coaches, not build your personal brand. I will show you how personal branding will benefit you, and 4 easy steps that don't take too much of your time to create or improve, since you are all already involved in building your personal brand, so improve it. So what is personal brand? There are many definitions. I just have a couple of them, quite famous. One is from Tom Peters, who says that we are the CEOs of our own companies, Me Inc. And to be in business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. And Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, he says that your brand is what people say when you're not in the room. So your brand is how other people perceive you, and we have to become aware of that. Personally, this is the long one. I will skip some of the slides. Personally, I see personal branding as made up of two components. And the first one is your story. And so you now understand why I think that authors cannot not build their personal brand. So it's a story, and stories are powerful, very powerful. If you think, we've heard many stories yesterday, and we all remember them. If you go back in time and you have memories of your school, the lessons that you have learned at school, you probably remember them through stories. And if you think of all the religions in the world, they have passed and still pass their teachings through stories. So stories are memorable. And this is how humans work, how the human mind works. We remember stories. And your story is what makes you unique. Nobody else has the same exact story as you have. You have your own experiences, you make choices. Your story is made of choices. It is made of the relationships that you form with people and places and things. It's your passion, your values, your beliefs, and it is powerful and successful and memorable if it is said, if it's told in a way that engages people. So I think you are all masters at that, so I don't need to spend too much time. Today we have a very powerful technique that it's called digital storytelling, and it makes use of all the features and the tools that technologies offer us to tell our story. And digital storytelling is perfect to build your personal branding, because you can tell your professional and personal story using these tools and resources. You entertain your audience. You can disseminate your message, your products, services. You can teach, you can promote, market, and advertise, really using everything that technology today offers us. Yesterday, I think it was Kimberly that said that your name is everything to you. So your personal brand starts at birth with your name. And your name is part of yourself. So make your name part of your brand. And it's a journey made of relationships with other people who add value to your story, to the story that you will tell. And your personal choices are not different from the choices that big brands make for their services and products. So a brand is a promise of a unique value. This is very important. Think of Mercedes. Mercedes has values that you all recognize. If I mention Mercedes to you, what comes to your mind? Yeah. So, yeah, these are all, characteristics that you associate to the brand. We've seen famous people who are clearly worked, or maybe other people worked for them, on their brand, and we associate these people to certain characteristics and messages and stories that they tell. But also these people, Gandhi, John Paul I, Mandela, Mother Teresa, they are all famous, strong, powerful impactful personal brands. Okay, so when you think of your brand, know what makes you unique. We've heard yesterday, find at least 3 things that define you. Where are you? And then work on them. And this is the message that you can say about yourself. Know what sets you apart. Know the value that you can offer to your audience. And your brand is something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. So you have to make adjustments as you grow, as you develop, as you evolve. The other part of personal branding, so the first part is your story, and the second part is the communication of your story, how you tell your story, how and where. It's, in other words, a tool, to me, a process to find your voice. The voice or voices, as I will show you, that enable you to tell you your story. You have a physical voice, a spoken voice, that is your language, and a social voice, your voice on social media. And there's another voice, which is your inner voice, that has a positive component, which is the intuition that supports you and that helps you make the right decisions for yourself. And there is the little voice telling you, you're not going to do that, you're not good at it, you're too old, too young, too much, too little, and that stops you very often. And this is a voice that we have to try and silence up. So the physical voice, I won't spend time on this aspect because it's not part of my presentation, but the only thing that I want to say about your physical voice, if you think of it, it's through this physical voice that we form our relationships. We speak of our emotions and we connect with people. So sometimes we are not in tune with our physical voice. We think we sound very confident, and we are not. And people have a completely different impression of who we are. So this is just to invite you to pay attention sometimes to your voice when you speak to people, when you have an interview, or when you meet a client, or a possible partner in your business. These are studies that have been carried out as far as the spoken voice is concerned, your language. Your language is one of the languages that we use. We use other forms of languages, images, videos, music, every form of art. These are all languages that we should integrate in our brand if they reflect us. I, for example, love pottery. This is something that unfortunately I have set aside for the moment in my life, but one day I would love to integrate this part of me, this language that I use, again in my personal brand. Might be something different for you. But speaking of the spoken language, just a couple of observations. When you refer to people using the pronoun you or your audience immediately feels that you are speaking directly to them. So you create a connection. And studies have shown that headlines in articles, blog posts that start with questions double the click-through rate of that title on the internet. Why? Because the reader, seeing a question, expects an answer. So this is another way to connect to your audience. So paying attention also to the way we speak, not only in our books, but also online, is important, and it helps create this consistency that our brand should have on our website, in our writings, and on the social media that we choose. So where do we tell our story? We have a number of social networks that have necessarily be part of our brand. They should be the stages where we present ourselves. But, and this is important, why? Very often my coaching clients ask me why. Why should I have a Facebook profile or a LinkedIn profile? A brand is not a brand if it's not seen. So we must be seen. We must show ourselves to the world. And also because this is where our audience are, where our potential customers are, where our potential readers are. Studies have shown that people spend more time on the internet, on social media, than watching television. And these are statistics that I took at the beginning of this year, so numbers I'm sure have changed. But if you think Facebook, 1 billion registered users aged 26 to 64, Twitter, 50% of users on Twitter are from smartphones. And Google Plus, it's growing rapidly. The plus button that is like on Facebook, it's pushed, it's used 5 billion times a day. YouTube, 4 billion video hours are viewed every month, and it's the second search engine after Google. So this is where our audience is, and so we have to be there. A warning: social media should not be used for pitching. Yes, we sell our products, services, and books, but social media are for socializing. Social media should be used to create relationships with our readers, with our audience, our prospects, and using the features that are typical of each one of them, we can engage in different conversations on different social media. Just an example. If you have a Facebook page, you have the possibility to have surveys that are extremely important to understand what your audience expects from you. For example, you're writing a new book and you want to be sure that this is the topic that your audience really wants to read about. Run a survey on Facebook and you will be able to ask the right questions. And Twitter, it's like a networking event. Using the hashtag, you can create conversation on a topic and create relationships with the people who follow you. And social media is also a place where you create your brand reputation. And by brand reputation, I mean, yes, exactly what Bezos said. It's what people say about you. So it's a way, social media, also to test what people are saying about you. If you Google your name, you will see what are the results and the comments that you get. But your brand reputation is built by the value that you offer people. Remember, you are building relationships, and when you build a relationship, you want to give. And you give before you ask them to do something. So offer them a lot of free content, valuable content, offers, possibilities, and only then, after you've done that, try to sell something to them. But first, create the relationships. If there is a strong relationship, people will be able to happily buy from you. So this is the very easy process that I use. A first phase is discover. Discover your values, your mission, your unique qualities, your goals, and have your destination in mind, where you want to go. The second phase is the phase that I like most, and you choose where you want to show your your personal brand. So I suggest a blog, a video, use video on your blogs, on your websites, social media profiles, storytelling, visual storytelling, digital storytelling, as I said. Communicate very clearly with very concrete language. Don't be afraid of repetition. Repeat, offer valuable content. Remember that branding is connecting with people. And maintain, this is the difficult part for my clients, but it shouldn't take much. I mean, 10 to 30 minutes a day to engage with people, comment on other people's blogs, pages, profiles, exchange information, and update your brand regularly. Update it regularly because remember that your brand is your story. Your story doesn't stay the same. It evolves as you evolve, and that should reflect yourself. So if you're ready, start implementing these suggestions, the little suggestions that I offered to you. And if I want to leave a message, the most important message is, remember, it's your story, it's your voice, but it's about relationships. Thank you.